Voyages World here. It is June the 19th, going into the 20th. Come at you with a video. Yeah, we'll start here with the human. We got some other stuff, some more crazy stuff on the satellites, guys, that I'm just not quite sure what to make of. But we will talk about that and a few other things here. But yeah, so we'll start with the human here. And as you can see, I mean, again, this is our new norm. There's multiple small spikes all through this for the constant time here. You can see where there's nothing consistent anymore. It's just all a bunch of spiking, a bunch of wave, pulse type of stuff. But I see this right here. This is a interesting signature. I'm not sure if I've ever seen one quite like that. We've seen lines and stuff kind of that shape before, but not really quite like that. So I'm not really sure what to make of that, but it only lasted for, I don't know, an hour there. So whatever that was, it could have been, guys, we got to take in consideration when we're looking at this tool, especially, that this thing can be affected by like thunderstorms and stuff that are in that area. That would be a short-lived, type of a signature, which is what that would be. Okay, when we see the big spikes, that's not caused by thunderstorms, guys. I get a lot of questions and stuff about that, if local weather or whatever, where this stuff is being reported from, have anything to do with it. Yes, it can, but it would be just for a very short amount of time, unless it's heck, who knows what it would have to be something long. Where these things are at, thunderstorms can affect the vibration, obviously, the frequency. But it's not going to, what I'm saying is it's not going to stick around very long. So, thunderstorms come and go pretty quick. So when we're talking about the bigger spikes, there's no way those are caused by, weather. Space weather maybe, but not, here on the planet. So yeah, we'll move on. All right, guys, I got you over at Space Weather Prediction Center, NOAA. This is where we look at our space weather conditions. As you can see, the solar wind speed's at like 326, which isn't nothing. It's nothing to even really talk about. It's right in the middle where it should be. Again, it looks like our baseline has dropped here on the solar flux. It's going to stay pretty low unless we start getting sunspots and active areas facing us again. Now, again, we've seen a little bit of a dropout spike right there. I'm not really sure where that's coming from, but that did happen. The proton flux, guys, we very seldom do we see anything on this graph. That is something that, yeah, I'm not even quite sure why they even show that one anymore, but it is what it is. Now, this right here is our geomagnetic activity. Now, remember, when we're talking about geomagnetic storms, we're talking about, space weather storms, usually from coronal holes, believe it or not, or CMEs or solar flares. Typically, though, when our geomagnetic activity level is rising, or is raising, it's coming from like a coronal hole stream. That happens more often than the other. Okay, the sun fires CMEs all the time, but they're not always directed at us. So that's why the majority of the solar weather we get is from coronal holes, and I used to talk about those a lot. But I found that it's one of those things where you talk about it and it's just one of those things that keep continuing. So if I talked about that every video, that's all we would talk about, because there's always coronal holes. Let me show you. Okay, we're looking at this one right here, and we can look at different angstroms. Okay, this right here is the 193 angstrom, and it sees different gases. That's what the angstroms are looking for. Okay, it lets us see more things out there that we can't see with our visible eyes. So they do this so we can see things in a more clearer fashion, and we also see more things this way. Some stuff is just not visible in certain light spectrums, and that's why we do look at this. But anyway, here's the equator of the sun. The Earth is kind of here, and when we're talking about the coronal holes, we're talking about these dark patches. Okay, these are very, very small openings right now. Okay. When we get the larger coronal holes, I definitely do talk about it. But this one right here, oops, get that back up here. That one right there, the one here in the middle of the screen, that one there is it has potential, I think, that it could open up as it comes through. Okay, now, this is, if we're talking about like a true coronal hole, that's what a true coronal hole would look like. Okay, those other ones are coronal holes too, but that's a pretty legitimate one that stays there all the time. It does fluctuate in size. On the north and the south pole of the sun, guys, they stay there. Okay, there's always energy escaping that way. Charged particles are escaping out. And what you're looking at when you see the darker patches here, you're looking at difference in temperature pretty much. Okay, so when you see the dark patches, that means it's colder there. So, the corona, which is a coronal hole, has peeled back some. And, there's a lot of questions, and they still don't have a whole lot of good explanation on why the corona of the sun is actually hotter than the surface. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that until I started doing this research. Okay, so what you're seeing is that, off the surface of the sun where the corona is, where the hazy stuff that we're looking at here around the edges, don't make no mistake, it's right in front of you too. You just can't see it because the sun's the background. It camouflages it. But that is hotter than the actual surface of the sun. It's hard for people to believe that, but it is true, and I can attest why. Okay, I used to work in printing, and we used UV bulbs to dry the ink like instantaneously. Okay, we would run machines at 600 parts a minute, and we made food containers, and it would dry the ink instantly. You could pick the part up right out the back of the machine, and it would be dry. Okay, at 600 parts a minute. So you guys got to understand the intense light and UV that was being used there. These bulbs were like $500 a piece. But that the energy, the actual work wasn't actually being done by the bulb, guys. So that's kind of what I'm saying here. The surface of the sun isn't really what's doing the work. What's doing the work is the corona, and when I apply it to the printing thing I was just talking about, we use reflectors around that UV bulb. Okay, and what happened was the light and the UV would bounce off the reflectors, and we could angle the reflectors to a focal point. And the heat, all the energy coming off that bulb, we could get more energy produced where the part was by a focal point than what was actually on that bulb, just from using a bunch of reflectors. So you can angle the reflectors whatever way you want. If you found that sweet spot, it was really intense. It was 5 times more powerful than the sun, and that's what we're looking at right here. Okay, so that's why it would dry so quick. But that just gives you an idea of how, even in everyday life, what I'm talking about here is kind of applicable to all of us, in the sense that, to let everybody know that it doesn't have to be hotter on the surface than it is off of it. It's actually opposite of that. So just know that. I know people think, well, that's not possible. Well, it is. And I can show you, and I can prove it. So I lived it for 20 years doing that work. So, but anyway, that's what's going on with that. And when those corona holes come earth facing, that's when we start talking about increased solar wind. Now, as far as solar wind conditions and stuff, you can see this graph there here on the yellow. That there is the solar wind speed, and you can see how it's going from 200 to 400 on the range. Okay, yesterday it was just 200 to 300. And usually it doesn't show 200 on here, guys, and I explained that yesterday. That's a very low solar wind, and if we're experiencing that, it's rare that we do. So just know that. Now, something small happened here, you can see, because all three, the temperature in green, yellow, and orange here, they all reacted at the same time. So whatever that was, it was probably just an increase in maybe Apache's coronal hole passed through 3 or 4 days ago. Who knows? But yeah, and I want to see if this will play. Yeah, let's take a look at this real quick. Something I'm noticing here, guys. This is the Enlil model. Look at all these little patchy pulses happening. Okay, you're seeing like little balls basically, and we're not seeing like a continuous stream like we see often. Okay, you can see how it's just a bunch of little pulses. And that's not normally what we see. And that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. And you can even see it evident here on the solar wind. Look at all the green inside the other colors. We don't usually see that. Okay, this is something odd. I don't know. It's not a big deal or anything, but it isn't typically what we see. So something's going on. Something's different anyway. Okay. So, yeah. So we'll move on. Okay, guys. This is the geoelectric field model. This is the influence of space weather on our electrical grid. And this actually is kind of active right now. So we're getting hit with something, whether it's increased solar wind or what have you. Something's affecting our electrical grid system at least a little bit. You can see how it's flashing, see how it gets intense. So something's going on here. It's not nothing big, I don't think. It's just, this isn't just the normal mundane whatever. This is a little bit elevated than what we usually see. And something else odd that I noticed, if you look over here, remember me talking about over here in the Rockies how we get that arrow, right? It looks like an arrow, but it's really caused by the Rocky Mountains. That's why that signature always shows up. Just like over here on this side where we get the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, that's why we see the difference in color and it never hardly ever changes. But what we're seeing over here right now, watch this this arrow part. Okay? You can see how when it goes to do its thing, it doesn't just blink on and blink off like it typically does. We start missing pieces of it. And I've not seen this graph do that before, or this model. Okay? So we got energy rolling across there that's actually, it's getting picked up in different ways right now. And it's really kind of strange, especially when you lose it horizontal like this, just in that area. And it stays the same here and here, but yet it starts missing it here. So it's you would think with like solar wind, it would be more of a blanket type of thing, not precise like what I just showed you there. But you can see like we get difference in intensities all the way through here, and we don't usually see that either. You can even see if you really zoom in, it looks like almost like waves are going up like if you looked at like a topographical map where you see elevation and stuff. You can see like waves going up this thing. Okay? If you look real close, I know it's hard to see, but there is a small difference in color and it steps up. You can see it and it moves around. So, that's something I was looking at. And the only reason why I'm showing it to you is because it was out of ordinary. Okay? It's nothing to be worried about. But, nationwide, the past 2 or 3 days, we've been experiencing a lot of different cell phone outages, a lot of different communication outages, period. People's internets and stuff have been shutting off. Matter of fact, I was talking to Scott this morning, and his internet shut off while I was talking to him. And I came back on, but still, that's what's going on. Sometimes this can do that, I would think. That's kind of what this is showing you. Now, if you want an overall intensity, you can look up here at this number. See how it's moving? All right, I've seen that thing up in the hundreds. We actually hit a 16 or 17 there. So, when it gets up to around 100, I would think that, man, that's some... Because if you look down here at the graph, it actually will show you 1 to 10 to 100. So what this number is showing you is the highest that it's seen at the time. Not the overall average or anything. It's showing you the highest that it's on that map at that time. So if you see 100... you're going to see oranges. If you see 1,000, you're going to be seeing purples and dark reds. If you see 10,000, we probably won't be having this conversation because the power will probably be out. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really know if that's the case. But yeah, that's how that works. So, okay guys, this is SEEDS. This is LASCO C2. And what LASCO C2 is a satellite that's out there. Actually, this is on the SOHO satellite, I should say. Earth's here, satellite's kind of like right there, and it's looking at the sun. And the LASCO C2 camera or instrument is on that satellite. So that's what we're looking at here. And if you look here, you're going to see a CME it picks up what it thinks to be a CME here on the left side. All right, you'll see the red and blue lines. You see that? The red and blue lines, they outline the front, and then it tries to outline that overall shape at the same time. That was a small little ejection. It's nothing to worry about. Even if that thing was coming right at us, it probably wouldn't be much of a big deal at all. But I do want to show you yesterday. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of the flashing. Okay, through the past oh man, week or so. And you can tell because if you look at this one in particular, you're going to see it. Obviously, you guys are seeing all that flashing. And usually when we see the flashing, it means the sun's actually having ejections or it's causing a flare of some sort. Not always, but most of the time. And we're having like a continuous flow of like smaller ejections off of the sun. And I've been talking about that for a while also. So, you take that for whatever it's worth. And this one here, again, it actually, it's not, we're not getting all the data either. Huh, I wonder if that's another, what? Are you kidding me? Guys, I just caught another stinking comet, it looks like. What the heck? I didn't even see that until just now. Ain't that crazy? What in the world? Wow. Okay. I don't know. I bet nobody else ever sees that because I almost didn't see it myself. What am I talking about? Well, look right in here. You're going to see something pop on the screen and go on up. Watch. It's right here. Look at that. If that was a planet, guys, it wouldn't be moving up like that. That's moving towards the sun. Okay? If it was a planet, it would be, moving horizontal. So, yeah, then the time switched back to the end of the day there. Now, see, we're missing a bunch of time here, too. So, I hate that when that happens. But, we can't do nothing about it. But check that out. That was today. Here's another comment. I can't believe that crap. Man, this stuff's flying everywhere. Anyway, what we're going to look at here is, I'm going to push play, and let's see if it's actually in reverse. That's fine. We'll leave it in reverse, give you guys something else to look at. But something I'm noticing big time is, you guys seeing all this? Okay? You see all the sparkling and stuff going on? That's a lot of debris or material or whatever flying around in front of this satellite. And that goes and corresponds with the 3 meteors or fireballs around the same time frame on the 16th hitting Puerto Rico. Mr. MBB3 did a video on that. I would encourage you guys to go over and check it out. But there were 3 big fireballs that flew across the sky. And what those are, like I said, those are meteors, but, it's odd. It's very, very rare, number one, to see 3 of them in such a short time frame in the same area. Okay? So that means they basically were coming in at the same time. And that's what, it's not nothing to be freaking out about or anything, but it does show that we're passing through something here. If it's meteor showers or if it's whatever they're not seeing or they've seen it and not telling us, but we're definitely seeing something. Okay, something's going on. We're in a more active area of space as far as debris. Now we could be passing through one of the meteor showers that we always do. I really don't know, but I haven't heard. Okay, and I looked into it a little bit. Didn't spend a whole lot of time, but I didn't see anybody showing it or see anything that was on the books that we should be experiencing this right now. So this might be something a little bit odd, out of the ordinary. And I got something else to show you on Stereo A that'll kind of play into that a little bit also. But you guys can see how all that stuff right there, we don't usually see all that much. We always see some, but it's not usually that much. That's quite a bit. Okay, guys? So what we'll do is we'll go over here to Stereo A. I'm going to pause it. Okay, guys, I got you Stereo A. Now, I've already shown you this day. This is, to give you guys an idea here real quick. Earth is here, the satellite's over here. So we're looking at the sun from the side. Okay? That's our viewpoint. So it would be just to give you guys an idea of the direction that we're looking at. We're not looking from our view on this one. We're looking at the side of the sun. Okay? I noticed a couple different things. I mean, there was a couple things poking out here on the side that I seen. But it wasn't much to really, concern ourselves with. But if you remember, this is what we seen. And I already went over this part on why we're seeing those particular shapes. Okay? Not only do they repeat themselves, but they look like a half of a tube, guys. I mean, I just don't... I don't want to sound mean or anything like that, And you guys know I try not to do that the best that I can. But I can't stand by and just let people think that this is a fleet of UFOs. Um, wow. That's all I can say to that. You know, first off, let me ask you guys this question, okay? If there was a fleet of UFOs that showed up on our satellites, even after we talked about it, do you guys honestly think that they would leave this data there? Ask yourself that question, okay? And I think that you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, that there's no way, even if this got out at first, if it was a UFO fleet, okay, they would not leave this out there. We got to be, have a little bit of common sense here, and this is what I'm talking about. And that just points right back to, this is a camera anomaly. This is what this is. This is a reflection of the inside of the camera, and this is how it's getting interpreted. It's the same shape repeated multiple times. Okay, and the reason why it changes direction is because everything's moving. Okay, you can see, especially like on this one, it's a half of a tube. Okay, I mean, that's what it looks like. It's half of the inside of that camera getting reflected. It's all that is, guys. So please, and I can't tell you who to watch and who to pay attention to or anything like that. And I will never do that. I don't, I'm not going to say names or anything like that. But if you're going to, say that this is a fleet of UFOs and you're just going to show me this, I'm not going to listen to you. Because this is not enough to tell me if there's something there, especially when I can directly refute and debunk that immediately in like 5 seconds. It's not hard to figure that out. And, don't get me wrong, I used to think the same thing, and I've explained this already before. We even named them Kool-Aid cars, guys. If you guys remember, anybody that's been with me since the beginning, these were called Kool-Aid cars because my name was Blue Kool-Aid. And that's what one of my subscribers named them that, and I thought it was cool, so we just ran with it. And, after being shown what this was by, multiple people, and, up to and including Scott, and anybody else out there that was trying to help me, and just watching other channels explain it, and after I looked at the schematics of one of these cameras, you immediately understand what we're looking at. So, yeah. So, hold on 1 second here. What we're going to do is we're going to just toggle through here. I'm sorry I went off on the side rant there, but it just really bothers me when people say stuff like that's a fleet of UFOs and they don't use their common sense and be like, why would they leave that data there if it was actually a fleet of UFOs? Because if it was true, they would just blast it. They wouldn't let that out there. Not after they've seen it. It might make it through for like a half hour, and we've caught stuff like that before, and then they pull it off the net. So, if this is one object, they'll leave it there all day long. But not a fleet, okay? I mean, I'm just saying. Anyway, so this is what I showed you guys yesterday, and if you remember, it was that. Okay, that is, in my opinion, some sort of an object, or I'm leaning more towards a UFO on this one, guys. Because you can see how the sun's reacting with it right here. I showed you guys that yesterday. Plus the 90-degree turn it made. That was just unbelievable to me. Because it starts out here. You see the dot here. Right? And then it moves to there. And then it moves to up here. So by showing two different filters here, you can see the movement of it. It went from here to up here. And then off the camera. That's almost a 90-degree turn. Planets and stuff like that don't do that. Okay? Meteors don't do that unless they're getting sucked in real fast by something and going off that direction. This way, it's not getting sucked in by anything. So, what's causing all that? I don't know what this is. Okay? Just say it right out there. I don't. But I can give you my opinion that I don't think I really truly think that's some sort of a UFO, or at the very least, it's a small meteorite that really wouldn't be that small either. because it's out there a good ways, and if it's anywhere close to the sun, that's actually a pretty large object. So, but anyway, I did see something else. So what I'm going to do here, guys, this is the 18th. Okay. Now, again, this is picking up a few little things here and there. Something I did notice that we don't usually see on this one. This is what I want to point out. Okay, we got stuff flying around out there right now. Pretty significant. Okay, you see this right here. Now watch what happens when I toggle through to the next capture. Obviously that turns black, but what I want you guys to see here is, it's going to be hard to see, I know it is, but you see the distortion right in here? Okay, and I showed you guys a little bit of that yesterday. But we're seeing more and more in that same area. So let me go, and what we're seeing here on the black, that's just the ghosting. Remember how I showed you guys when it sees a light, plus, before I go into that, you see something down here too. Little bit of, not much of anything, but let me go back one here. You see how that's real bright up here? So the next image we get is going to be what we call like a ghosting image. But then we go to the next one here, a couple frames later, and maybe I went the wrong way. I think I did. So I'll back this up a little bit, but we'll go before that. Yeah, that's when I seen it. Okay, you see this? Okay, and things are happening right there in this area for some reason. But I'm wondering if this little object there was either deflected or turned by the gravity of the sun. Because if we go forward, 2 more captures and it's over there. Okay, you see how it's here? And then it shows up over here. Watch. See that? So I think things are moving around out here, and I don't, that isn't such a sharp turn. But if you look over here at the same time, you're getting that distortion again too. So I don't really know what's going on with this, guys. I do think that was probably some sort of a meteorite. I don't think that was a UFO or anything like that. But I do think that was the same object. So let me back it up again. And so we see it there. And then 2 frames later, well, 3 frames, I guess. Did I go the wrong way again? I must have. Who knows? Anyway, you guys know what I showed you. Okay, there it is. Let me back it up again. So it's there, and then we go a couple frames ahead, and then it's there. So you guys get it. Sorry. But yeah. But then we go to the 19th today, and check this out. Now, typically, I would just say, man, this ain't nothing. That's just a whatever, right? You've heard me say it 1,000 times, but this isn't the typical, what we usually see as far as shapes. So I'm going to try my best here to stop it where it needs to be. Well, there's something else here, too, that I've seen. Again, in this same area, guys, just look right in here, and I'm going to toggle it forward. You're going to see something show up and kind of, I just don't know what that is, man. Let me go ahead and go to the next capture there. See how it's kind of distorting? Okay, and this is where I started seeing it. Right in here. You see all that mess? So if we go forward, it's kind of moving around back and forth up there. It's really hard to see, so I probably shouldn't even be showing that part to you. But then we get this. Now, this is not our typical, blip on this tool. The shape is way wrong for that. Never have I seen something come down to a point like this. Okay? That's indicative of something traveling. Okay? In other words, what would be happening here, I don't think it's traveling towards this satellite. I think it's actually moving that way. Because the solar wind would be hitting it, whatever is happening here, and it would cause that tail, is what I'm trying to say. Just like a comet. It very well could be a comet. I don't know. But that did show up here, so I don't know what this thing is. It's over here too. And again, it's not our typical shape that we see. And it's almost like, guys, you know what this really looks like to me? You know, look up in your own sky sometimes and you see those, well, we'll just call them trails, okay? They come off the back of airplanes. So if you put an airplane right here, you know, I know it looks kind of crazy airplane there, but what does that look like to you? You know, I'm not saying this is that. I'm just saying that's what it looks like, okay? Yeah, so a comet actually would look the same too. So if you put like the base of a comet right there, that's exactly what it would look like too. So, but you do see especially over here, you see like a clear definition line down the middle of this thing. So it could just be the difference of temperature there or whatever, I don't know. But I did want to show you guys that. So, yeah, and that's pretty much what's going on right now, guys. I don't really have a whole lot more here. Other than, like I said, we're getting more and more debris, it seems like. We just keep passing through more and more things. And, you know, I think it's going to continue. You know, evidence of that, best evidence, in my opinion, is the fireballs that we're seeing. Okay? So, don't forget, though, there was a big earthquake in New Zealand, off the coast of New Zealand yesterday, 7.4. All the space weather stuff we talk about is all related to that. So, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. We'll pay attention to that. We'll pay attention to all of it like we always do here. But, again, guys, I'll probably come back with a video tomorrow sometime. I'm not really sure. But, guys, have a great weekend. God bless. Yeshua saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.